Good evening, and it's good to be with you again this evening on what is a very warm evening. So I do apologise if I'm looking a bit hot. I'm sat in the studio under the hot lights, but I have got a fan just up here blowing on me, so it'll probably blow the green screen behind me around and do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So nothing will go right this evening, I'm sure. But what glorious weather we're having today. It may be August and the time of holidays, but there are lots of things happening, and we'll be sharing some of those with you this evening on our programme this week. The first thing to say, and hot off the press, is some of you will know that Brother Alistair's email address got scammed earlier in the week, and we put a notification out. Well, it's happened again this afternoon, so I've just this second put another message out to people. So please be very careful if you get an email from Brother Alistair, or even a Facebook message that says something like, hi or hello, how are you? Usually the next one will be, I'm stuck somewhere and I need some money, so please give me your credit card details or something. So please be very, very careful. If you do get anything from Brother Alistair that you're not sure about, please either email me or telephone me, and I can help you decide if it's a legitimate email or not. The chances are it won't be, because Brother Alistair or nobody else from the church will be emailing you, asking you for bank details or credit card details, or asking for any urgent money. So you can guess, if you get any of those sort of questions, it is a bit of a scam and an attempt at fraud. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. And it isn't actually coming from Brother Alistair's email address. If you look at the email address it's coming from, it is coming from somewhere else. So we can't even stop it, unfortunately, by changing passwords. Do remember also, if you don't manage to catch all of tonight's programme, you have to disappear for any reason, or you miss a bit of information as it goes through, that a bit like the BBC and ITV, you can get us on Catch Up TV. Because we're going out on Facebook and on YouTube, of course you can go back later, and once we've gone out live, then videos of this evening's live programme are deposited on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can replay them again to catch up. And please tell other people within the parish and friends of yours you think might be interested to come along and look at our news programme each week, because we're aiming to make it of interest to a wide audience. Yes, it does have information about the parish in it, but also lots of other interesting things as well, which I'm sure you'll realise as we go through tonight's programme. We're going to start this week's programme by marking 150 years of the Red Cross, an organisation that will be familiar to many of you, and the British Red Cross being part of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent organisations, working throughout the world in times of war and of crisis during peacetime. As we say, the Red Cross is currently celebrating 150 years, and we thought it would be good to learn a bit about the organisation and how it was formed. This year we celebrate 150 years of the Red Cross. The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement started in 1863 and was inspired by Swiss businessman Henry Dunant. The suffering of thousands of men on both sides of the Battle of Solferino in 1859 upset Dunant. Many were left to die due to lack of care. He proposed creating national relief societies made up of volunteers trained in peacetime to provide neutral and impartial help to relieve suffering in times of war. In response to these ideas, a committee, which later became the International Committee of the Red Cross, was established in Geneva. The founding charter of the Red Cross was drawn up in 1863. Dunant also proposed that countries adopt an international agreement which would recognise the status of medical services and of the wounded on the battlefield. This agreement, the original Geneva Convention, was adopted in 1864. When war broke out between France and Prussia in July 1870, Colonel Lloyd Lindsay, later Lord Wantage of Locking, wrote a letter to the Times. He called for the National Society to be formed in Britain, just like in other European nations. On the 4th of August 1870, a public meeting was held in London and a resolution passed. The British National Society for Aid to the Sick and Wounded in War was formed. It gave aid and relief to both warring armies during the Franco-Prussian War and in other wars and campaigns during the 19th century. This was done under the protection of the Red Cross emblem. In 1905, the British National Society for Aid to the Sick and Wounded in War was renamed the British Red Cross. It was granted its first royal charter in 1908 by His Majesty King Edward VII. Queen Alexandra became its president. The Red Cross needed many skilled volunteers for its wartime role. In 1907, a permanent structure of local branches was adopted and extended the presence of the British Red Cross to communities around the country. The Voluntary Aided Scheme was introduced in 1909 and ensured that voluntary aid detachments, VADs, were formed across the UK. Their members would provide aid to the territorial medical forces in times of war. Today in the UK, the Red Cross is made up of more than 18,000 volunteers and nearly 4,000 staff. It is their determination to help others, along with the generosity of their supporters, that allows them to do what they do today. They remain part of the world's largest humanitarian network, the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, which has more than 17 million volunteers across 191 countries. This gives them a unique ability to respond to humanitarian crises around the world, with a local presence responding in almost every country, combined with a global network able to mobilize and coordinate extraordinary responses to massive emergencies. The Red Cross itself has been supported by the well-known brand Land Rover, who gave them many vehicles since the 1950s. As part of celebrating the 150 years of the Red Cross, Land Rover and the Red Cross have produced a video about the Red Cross in the UK.
For 150 years, our people have been putting the power of kindness into action. They are trailblazers, changemakers, and lifesavers of the British Red Cross. Our very first volunteers helped pave the way for countless more, like Princess Sophia Dalip Singh, one of the thousands of VAD nurses who cared for the sick and wounded during World War I, and other volunteers who continued to help people as the war ended and influenza hit the nation hard, showing extraordinary bravery to be there for those who needed it most. Volunteer Percy Lane Oliver set up the UK's first ever blood donation service, and during the Second World War, our volunteers helped families to trace their missing loved ones, a service we still run today for refugees. We've been working alongside the NHS from day one, and with Land Rover ever since the 50s, when they started donating vehicles so workers like Joan Whittington could reach people in places they couldn't before. When a mining disaster left the community of Aberfan stricken with grief, volunteers like John Cole were there to support with kindness. And years later, workers like Helen Cookson stood firmly alongside refugees in Hong Kong fleeing the war in Vietnam. Princess Diana visited Angola's active minefields with us, leading to a ban on anti-personnel mines. Our Boxing Day tsunami appeal saw an unparalleled outpouring of kindness from the British public. And in 2017, our teams responded to a UK emergency every 4 hours. And after years of campaigning, got first aid on school curriculums in 2019, so that more children like Stephen know how to save a life. At the turn of this decade, when the coronavirus pandemic broke out, thousands joined our movement to support the most vulnerable people. And as we move forward, our vision of a world where everyone gets the help they need in a crisis will be more important than ever. Working together, we will harness the power of kindness to build connected communities that stand strong in the face of the future, whatever it brings.
So there we go, a bit about the Red Cross celebrating 150 years of operations this year. And of course in the UK, we are so lucky to have so many charitable and voluntary organisations that do so much for people in our communities, both in good times and times of crisis. We'll come back to the British Red Cross later in the programme as they will touch on another story that we're covering this evening. Next, we're going to hear from Brother Alistair about some of the things coming up in the parish during a very busy August.
Hi everybody, welcome to another update from me. A couple of really important things about to happen in the life of the church. We need to call an APCM. We've been waiting, we were due to have done our APCM, that's our annual parochial church meeting, back in April. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we weren't able to do it. And because we've got to send certain things to the Charity Commission and things like that, we do need to get on with it, and we need to do it this month. So therefore what we've done is we have set a PCC meeting for Sunday the 23rd of August at 12 o'clock here at All Saints, and that is to clear up all sorts of things that have happened during lockdown, like faculty application, that we're changing some of the times of our services, that certain services we're not able to have going forward because of COVID, etc., etc., etc. So some of the measures that we put in place during the COVID time, we need to actually get a PCC minute of that. We also are having to change very slightly our charitable structure. And so consequently, in electing a new PCC on board at the APCM, those PCC members are going to have to sort of be officially registered as trustees. So we'll explain a bit more about that nearer the time to the PCC. We won't bother you with all of that detail. But that means that the following week we are going to have the APCM. So notices will come out this week of the upcoming APCM, and if you are an existing PCC member, that's going to affect you. We are needing to elect 3 new church wardens and a couple of other key posts like deanery synod reps as well. So elections will start to happen, and so if you can be aware of what's going on and to announce that on the 31st of August, the 30th of August, I don't know why I keep getting the 31st stuck in my head, the 30th of August, we are having our APCM here at All Saints Church at 12 o'clock, and so you are welcome to attend that. We are going to put special measures in so that we can hold as many people as we can in the building, and we will try to do everything we can above board. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to talk about. The second thing, we've had a number of you book in for this, and we're really looking forward to it, is the visit of Bishop Karen on the 19th of August, and she is coming to our Wednesday 10:30 Eucharist, and she's going to preside here, which will be wonderful. I think it's going to be my first Eucharist here with Bishop Karen present, so it's going to be lovely. And at that time we're going to dedicate our new altar frontal for the Lady Chapel, which has been made up out of these wonderful squares that you have been doing all sorts of embroidery and goodness knows what. I don't know what the names of these things are, but you've done it and you've done an amazing job. And so it's going to be a new piece of fabric that we're going to have in the building, which will be lovely. So if you're available and you'd like to come along on that day, that would be absolutely fantastic. I wish you well, and as I said previously, if you need to contact me, Tuesday evenings in August are a good time to do that. And you can come along to church at 6:30. I'm usually here till about 8:15 when we start to kind of close the church up because the evenings are drawing in now. So if you want to see me, you can see me then, or you've got my contact number if you need to get hold of me. God bless you, and I hope you have a lovely summer and enjoy this wonderful weather we're having.
Thank you, Brother Alistair. And following up on what Brother Alistair said, we are still taking names for the service with Bishop Karen on Wednesday the 19th of August at 10:30. And just to explain, although it is a Wednesday, the service is open to everyone. It's not just for our over 70s and shielded people like Wednesdays normally are. So that Wednesday the 19th of August will be open to everyone. But you do need to book a seat and get your name on the list that I'm holding, because obviously we do have a limit on the number of people in church. So it is effectively a ticketed service with only those who've got their names agreed on the list. So please do contact me as soon as possible if you'd like to go to that service, because we do have quite a lot of names on the list, but we still have some places available. Then just to explain that the PCC meeting, as Brother Alistair said, is on the 23rd of August at 12 noon at All Saints Church. That is for PCC members only. An agenda will be out very shortly. We will be looking to do things like approving the accounts in advance of the annual meeting, dealing with a couple of faculty applications and other matters that, because we haven't met as a PCC since the start of the year, we've not been able to formally decide on and take forward. Then the annual parish meeting is the following week, the APCM. This is open to all people on the church electoral roll. So if you're on the list of church members, the church electoral roll, you can attend and vote at that meeting. The main point of that meeting is to accept the accounts that the PCC will have approved the week before, to appoint 4 church wardens for the coming year, and to fill any vacancies on the church council and deanery synod representatives. Again, it's one of those things that has to be done every year because we are a charitable organisation, and we have to formally adopt the accounts, and they have to be sent off. As Brother Alistair mentioned, one of the things that we're having to do as a parish is to register as a charity. Many Church of England churches have been exempt as registering as charities for many years. That exemption disappears in March, and also because we're now 2 churches operating together, we've gone over the amount of turnover which we can maintain our exemption for. So we do now have to formally register with the Charity Commission and have a charity number. That does mean that all PCC members and new members will have to sign a trustees declaration, because we will be official trustees registered with the Charity Commission, although nothing actually changes, although it all has to be now documented. So that will happen at those 2 meetings. If you're interested in any of the vacancies as church wardens or PCC members, and you'd like to have a chat about that, do give me a call. I'll be happy to explain the roles and the commitment and answer any questions you've got, so that you can consider whether you wish to put yourself forward for those roles. And obviously, if you're thinking of volunteering, thank you very much, because obviously an organisation like the church needs lots of volunteers to fulfil these roles, to share out the workload and the responsibility. And so it's very important that we do keep those positions filled with people who can support the church and be active in those roles. Now, moving on, you know each week that Janet Hall does a report for us, and last week she told us about her interest in art and how that came about. This week she's following on from that and talking about the artists and paintings that have influenced her work over the years.
Hello. Last week, if you remember, I told you about some of my paintings. And this week, I want to tell you about some of the great artists who have influenced me in my life. The first of these has to be John Constable, mainly because of the picture of the hay wain we had as a jigsaw when I was growing up. His scenes represented for me rural bliss. Nowadays, I visit Salisbury quite often and frequently walk by the water meadows there, which seem to sum up that rural bliss that I loved so much when I was a child. His picture of the cathedral across the water meadows sums it up completely. In later years, I became a little sniffy about Constable and the prettiness of his pictures. Until recently, I made a visit to the National Gallery and found this Constable painting. Not only is it interesting because it is of Weymouth Bay, painted when staying in Osmington for his honeymoon, but also because it is so much freer, the atmosphere more ominous, and more the sort of moody image I like to paint. John Constable had married Maria Elizabeth Bicknell in St Martin in the Fields on the 2nd of October 1816. Their service had been conducted by the Reverend John Fisher, who was vicar of Osmington at the time, and they invited him to come and stay with them in the vicarage at Osmington. It was a gloomy autumn, and the atmosphere captured in Weymouth Bay is particularly gloomy. Unfortunately, the reviewers of the time didn't seem to share my love of the painting. It was described as not a very happy performance, but a sketch of barren sands and without much interest, and very unlike the artist's other pleasing works of home scenery. But for Constable, the Osmington shore was a scene of desolation and tragedy. The Fishers had lost a cousin, Captain John Wordsworth, brother of the poet William Wordsworth, when the Earl of Abergavenny sank with 200 men on board. The poet Wordsworth shared the grief and had penned the loss that Constable painted when he wrote "The seas in anger and that dismal shore." Incidentally, John Wordsworth was buried in All Saints' Churchyard on the 21st of March 1805. No gravestone now exists to show where the remains are, but you may have seen this memorial tablet in the church. The real reason for the visit to the National Gallery was to see the Turner exhibition. Turner is one of my greatest influences, with his skies and raging seas. Here are a few paintings by Turner and some of my Turneresque efforts. I think you will see the difference. Incidentally, Turner also has a local connection with this picture of Lulworth Cove and this one of Lulworth Castle. Next week we'll have some of my more recent influences, like Van Gogh and Picasso. See you then. Bye.
Thank you, Janet. That was very interesting. I always find Janet's reports interesting. I'm looking forward to next week and hearing about Van Gogh and Picasso. Normally at this time of the programme we would mark those who have a birthday or other celebration coming up, but this week I haven't got any birthdays to mention. So if you are having a birthday this week and we don't know about it, I hope you have a very, very happy birthday. If you've got a birthday coming up in the weeks ahead, please don't forget to let us know so that we can wish you a happy birthday here, or if you've got some special celebration coming up, a very special wedding anniversary or something like that, do let us know so that we can share that and wish you a very happy birthday or a happy celebration. I don't know about you all, but I'm really struggling with this heat. I know there'll be people that are looking forward to the sun and the heat, but I really struggle with it, and I've been really struggling today. It's touching just under 30 degrees centigrade in Weymouth today, and the normal average daily temperature for this time of year in Weymouth in August should be 23.5 degrees centigrade, so it's a lot warmer than should be expected. So I thought it was worth giving a little bit of heat advice on what we should do when it's hot and dry to look after ourselves. As I was looking around for the information earlier today, I found this lovely little cartoon from the NHS, which is a few years old, but I thought it really, really summed things up for us, how to look after ourselves in this very hot weather.
Without sun cream on, Dee thought she'd look cute, but then she went red, just like a beetroot. She'd had wine, then beer, a cocktail or four, fell asleep in the sun, and her skin got sore. Oh, Dee, not again. With blisters, a headache, she couldn't stop moaning, but then remembered 111 and got phoning. Advice from experts on the end of the line helped bring her sunstroke into sharp decline. We're not trying to stop your fun, just asking you to take care in the sun. 111's at the end of the line when it's less urgent than 999. They said rehydrate now with juice or water. Stick on a hat and rest up like you ought to. Stay in the shade if you're out in the heat. That's summer advice that you just can't beat. Be careful when you're cooking on the barbecue. Undercooked food will have you running to the loo. Remember, vaccinations before travelling far. And don't leave kids or pets unattended in the car. We're not trying to stop your fun, just asking you to take care in the sun. 111's at the end of the line when it's less urgent than 999. For the aches and pains that are making you groan, there's advice that can help you over the phone. So dial 111 to put your mind at rest. They can point to the health service to help you best. So get medical advice the easy way. You'll find the lines are open 24 hours a day. For all your urgent questions, call 111 to deal with the issues before they've barely begun. We're not trying to stop your fun, just asking you to take care in the sun. 111's at the end of the line when it's less urgent than 999. We're not trying to stop your fun, just asking you to take care in the sun. 111's at the end of the line when it's less urgent than 999.
So there we go. Hopefully you found that useful and a bit of fun as well. So remember, stay in the shade, drink plenty of water, put on your UV protection sunscreen and wear a hat and stay in the shade. And then we'll all be fine in this lovely hot weather. We started today talking about the Red Cross and the very important work that they do. This week we've heard the news of the massive explosion in Beirut and all of the people that have been affected by it. Many of the aid agencies are launching appeals to help the people of Beirut. I thought it'd be useful for us to just reflect on the situation in Beirut and how it has affected everyone, and to hear from a couple of those aid agencies. Now, I have to warn you that during this report there are flashing lights, and also some people might find some of the video distressing because it is taken from what's happening in Beirut. You will all have heard of and seen many distressing pictures, I'm sure, of the large explosion in the port of Beirut in Lebanon this week. The incident centred around Hangar 12 in the port of Beirut, where dozens of bags of fireworks were stored in the same place as 2,750 tonnes of ammonium nitrate. Ammonium nitrate can be used as a fertiliser, but it is very volatile and also has been used as the main component in many massive bombs used over the years by terrorist organisations such as the IRA and others. Lots of people are now asking how so much dangerous material could have been stored so close to residential neighbourhoods, and there are reports of many warnings about this over the years to the authorities which they seem to have ignored. It is thought that around 140 people have been killed as a result of the explosion, 5,000 injured, and 250,000 people have had their homes destroyed. Various aid agencies are now appealing for international help for medical supplies and financial help to feed and rehome the people of Beirut.
Following Tuesday's deadly explosion, a state of emergency has been declared in Beirut. 145 people have lost their lives and around 5,000 have been injured. Entire neighborhoods have been destroyed and over 250,000 people have been made homeless. Lebanon's already stretched health infrastructure is struggling to cope. Many hospitals were directly hit by the explosion. They are even having to turn away those without life-threatening injuries.
One piece of video which has been used by many news agencies is the video shoot of 29-year-old doctor Isra Sablani, who lives in the USA, but was back in Beirut for her wedding. Isra was unsuspectedly posing for a wedding video as the dramatic situation unfolded. Many of the aid agencies have either released videos taken by their staff in the region or have already launched appeals. We're going to see contributions from Tear Fund and the Red Cross. If you can help either of these two organisations or many of the other aid agencies who are currently setting up appeals, please do consider it. As we heard at the start of this report, this incident has had a massive impact on families and the community in the Beirut area, with 250,000 people being made homeless.
Dear friends and families, we are in Beirut, we are in Bush Hamoud. We are checking on the families, the broken houses, and how they're doing, and how's the situation. And yeah, it's devastating. Here we are in the front of our center. Now we're trying to open our center. We can see there's a glass already from the bottom. We're trying to get in from the window because we're not able to open the door.
This is very sad. This is very sad.
We want to ask for your help, for your support, so we can help the families that we work with. People are in need right now, in emotional need and financial need. We want to support them. It's very appreciated. And we thank you so much. God bless.
See damage on the buildings opposite. This is the port right here, and basically where I'm pointing now is where the explosion happened, so it just came straight through. Thank goodness I was not at home. Yeah. This is another door from the balcony. See just absolute blue windows off straight across the room. This door here.
There we go, shocking scenes from Beirut, and I apologise that those last two bits of video are not high quality, but they were actually shot on mobile phones of people who work for Tear Fund and the Red Cross, actually there live on the streets of Beirut, so very much first hand seeing what the damage and the devastation is. And finally, before we finish tonight, let me remind you of a few things. First of all, our quiz obviously is at 7:30 tonight, and you'll all be welcome to come along and join that if you want to. Tomorrow, of course, we have our main service live streamed at 9:30 a.m. and a communion service in church at 11. On Tuesday evening, the church is open for private prayer, and Brother Alistair will be available if anybody needs to speak to him. And on Wednesday at 10:30 a.m, we have our weekly communion for the over 70s and those who are previously shielding. And don't forget those two dates for your diary. The PCC meeting on the 23rd of August at 12 noon and the annual church meeting on the 30th of August at 12 noon at All Saints. And of course Bishop Karen coming on the 19th of August. And also, before I do the last bit, we have one more video to see yet. Don't forget, if you're coming to church, it's now a legal requirement that you have to wear a face covering or mask. I thought tonight that we would actually finish with something a little bit jolly and light-hearted, and I came across a video earlier today posted by Mark Upton, who's a former bandsman with the Royal Marines. He now teaches trumpet and other wind instruments and is a performer nationwide on the trumpet at concerts, etc. So I got in touch with Mark earlier this afternoon, and he's very kindly given me permission to use a video of his and share it with you tonight. So as we finish, we'll be hearing from Mark Upton himself playing the post horn, Ivan Hutchinson also playing the post horn, Andy Hall on piano, and they're all taught by and all former members of the Royal Marines Band Service. Mark specialises in trumpet and teaching trumpet himself, and if you want to read more about him, very interesting guy, pop along to his website at markupton-uk.com. So until next week, we'll finish with Mark, Ivan and Andy playing the post horn gallop.